Hi friends, thank you so much for being here. I'm back with a long form video with this soft glam tutorial, my take on the soft glam makeup look. So if you want to know all the tips and tricks and how I get to this, then I'm back to doing my eyes first, and I'm doing the same eye prep routine I've been doing for a while. So my Kokie concealer, and I blend it out with this Real Techniques Kitten Paw brush, and then I use my e.l.f. little pocket powder puff and my one size powder to set that, and I'll be right back. This would not be an Hourglass Elise tutorial if we weren't using Scotch tape, because I love to do a shadow wing for a soft glam. I'm going to be using two little quads. So this one is the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt, and then for a more affordable option, I really like these e.l.f. quads. That doesn't have the name. I'm pretty sure this is the one in the shade Truffles, but everything that I'm using will be in the description box down below. As far as tools goes, these are my two favorite for eyeshadow. They're both from Real Techniques. So this is the 203, and then this one, which is a little bit more angled and tapered, this is the 305. Starting off with my 203, I'm going to go into the e.l.f. quad with this lighter warm brown, and I like to start right where my eye is meeting the tape, and I like to blend onto the tape. With the same brush, now I'm going into that second darkest shade and just doing the same thing, just building up a little bit of depth. For the shadowing, I could go in with either of these black shadows. I will after I go in with a gel eyeliner. This is just for extra assurance and depth. This is my favorite one from LA Girl, super cheap. They're blackout gel eyeliner. Again, I'm gonna start right at the corner where my eye meets the tape, and I back blend, so I go back going towards the inner part of my eye, winging it out just a little bit. Then I really like this e.l.f. small angled brush, and again, first I back blend, especially if you have a lot of fold and like wrinkles, or if you have hooded eyes like me. I just find back blending really gets into all those nooks and makes an even blend. I never take my eyeliner further than the middle part of my eye, so I keep all of the depth on this outer portion. Once I've back blended, then I'll start to feather that out. And in terms of how long I make my wing, I don't go past the very end of my eyebrow. I'm taking the black and the e.l.f. quad on that same angled brush, and I'm just going to tap over just to really lock that in. And then here is the tape reveal, one of my favorite parts. My 305 from Real Techniques, I'm going to go into this second to lightest shade called Light in the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm just going to go over the very edges of where we put that brown. On a Sigma E54, this is a medium sweeper. It's just a medium size packing brush. I'm going to grab the lightest shade, which is called Fair. I'm going to look down into my mirror, and on my actual mobile lid, I'm going to highlight and pack that shade all over. And then I also like to take just a little bit in this outside corner of my eye socket going up towards my eyebrow. Here we are. Honestly, for every day, you could just stop here, but you know I'm not going to stop there. Is it really a soft glam if you're not adding a little shimmer, a little sparkle? I'm going in with Urban Decay Space Cowboy, of course, a classic, but I also love ColourPop Ritz, which is literally a $5 dupe for the Urban Decay one. I also love Moira Cosmetics Jupiter single eyeshadow, or this Zari Eyes eyeshadow in Sona Sona from Kokie, which is just a beautiful champagne with silver sparkle. I always use my finger, and I got this little trick from Kathleen Lights. If you ever have an eyeshadow that's a little bit too foiled or metallic and you want to sheer it out so it's more of a sparkle, just really break down that pearl in between your fingers. It's more wet and glossy, and then I just really press that pigment. Since I am going to be applying falsies in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and tightline with that same black eyeliner, so that way when I look up, you cannot clock the space between my real lashes and the false lashes. I also like to add just a little bit extra, almost on the lid, right in here. That'll help me make my inner corner more seamless. Before filming, I did go ahead and curl my eyelashes, but I'm gonna go ahead and apply my favorite drugstore mascara. This is the e.l.f. Lash and Roll, because this one actually holds a curl, and I just put on the lightest coat, basically just to coat the lashes. While I let that mascara truly set in and dry, I'm gonna go ahead and start on my base. So I've actually been using a face primer, you guys, the NYX Face Glue. I did do a little speed reviews video a couple weeks ago. I did already talk about my thoughts on this. And of course, the only false lashes that I be wearing, y'all should already know, but if you're new, Kiss Impress Falsies in the style Wispy. I'm gonna pop a long, medium, and short, starting from the outer corner going in. Moving on to foundation, usually I'm a glowy the house down boots girl. Instagram is influencing me to love like a soft matte finish on my skin. Using my favorite foundation brush, this is the Lunar Beauty LBF2, and we're just tapping like so. Don't forget the ears. Even if you have a really good foundation shade, which this one literally perfect for me, even so, we do not want to be clockable to anyone. So always get this little area right here in the ears. If you're only going to take away a couple of things, tips and tricks from this video, let this be one of them. I do not want to see you applying your concealer with the applicator directly underneath your eyes. I want you to take a palette or just on the palm of your hand, just put the tiniest bit. You see how little concealer I'm using? And then a brush. Yes, a brush. This one is the Deluxe Crease Brush from Real Techniques. Take just a tad, and I'll hold my mirror up, and I'm gonna start actually lower than the actual fold underneath my eye, because my idea is I want the least amount of product in this inner corner where we get all that creasing and when there's a lot of expression, and I just slowly bring that pigmentation into the inner corner where I have the most darkness. And I really like to take my concealer all the way literally to my hairline, following my temple for that snatched look. Next, I'm going to contour my nose, and I like to use a little eyeshadow brush. This one is ages old. It's from It Cosmetics, but it's so old I don't know the number or the name or anything like this, but it's kind of like a pinched, domed brush. Grab a healthy amount of that contour, and I look up into my mirror, and I like to start where I want my nose to look the skinniest, which is basically right in the center of the bridge of my nose. And I just tap, tap, tap. Just create one little line, and then I go on the other side, tap, 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 create the other little line. Now from here, I'm not going to add any excess product. I'm just going to start diffusing the edges and taking any excess up towards the front of my brow, and then also blending that down towards the most bulbous part of my nose here. I also like to take just a little bit more of that cream and do two little lines, basically a little V at the very tip of my nose underneath, to make my nose look more upturned. Aside from this contour, I'm actually using all powder cheek products. Hoochie R. It is too hot. I live in Nevada, y'all. I just can't. This is the Rem Beauty Hypernova Satin Matte Bronzer. I love this bronzer because she is very blurring, but so easy to diffuse. And I love using a fan brush. I've been swearing by this NYX fan brush. They do sell this at Ulta. I believe it's like $15. And I don't go below the top line of my ear. So this top line of my ear connecting to the corner of my mouth, I won't put any bronzer below that. The fan brush just really allows me to tap and push the product in. And because it's so wide and fluffy, just by moving it around, it does the blending for me. With no excess powder, I'm actually gonna go and further blend my nose contour just to make sure we don't have any harsh lines. Also, notice how I haven't set anything. For a reason, I will explain after we do all of our cheek products. But first, powder highlight. This is the Smashbox X Becca Champagne Pop. This is a Real Techniques setting brush. This is my favorite for underneath the eyes, but also for powder highlight. I just take it on the very tip, just from the natural glow of my skin and the foundation. We see that I have a little glow right here, and I'm just going to further emphasize that with the powder. And I'm using the lightest pressure. I'm not pushing where the bristles start to flatten. They're just coasting on top of my skin. Again, from Rem Beauty, their Hypernova Satin Matte Blushes. I love this shade in Skinny Dipped. It is just such a cute pinky coral, especially if you have a medium olive undertone. This is going to look so good on you. Also using their blush brush. I basically like to put my blush directly over my highlight. That's just a personal preference. I don't really like the highlight looking like a streak on top of the cheek products. I really like it to be like a glow from within. And I love putting my blush literally right next to the corner of my eye underneath my wing. Again, for my face shape, I just feel like it's lifting everything up. I also take the very tip of the brush, just put it into the pan like this, and go over the bridge of my nose. Just for a little something something. For eyebrows, I'm the simplest, plainest bitch. I literally just put in eyebrow gel, but before I do that, just to make sure that there's no like excess powder or anything that could have gotten in the brows, I really go through them with a spoolie. Rare Beauty eyebrow gel, still my favorite. I know I love the e.l.f. one, and I've been getting into the Anastasia Brow Freeze, the one that's in this kind of packaging, but I just always go back to this one. I do wish it had the e.l.f. applicator, like that dual-sided brush. If it would be game over for literally every other eyebrow gel on the market for me. Once I've fully coated them and brushed them up, now I'm going to shape them. I like to take, again, the brush I was just talking about from the e.l.f. brow gel, but if you don't have that one, I highly recommend this dual-sided one. I don't know the name because I've used this so much it's rubbed off, but it's from e.l.f. It's only a couple of dollars, and it has a spatula on one side and then the spoolie on the other. And this spatula I like to use to really flatten the hairs. You can also just use your finger and just press, but I can use the spatula to really shape the tail ends of my brow like so. But I find like this e.l.f. one is still easier, so I'll do that on this side, and it's just literally so quick. Now we're finally going to set. This is another moment where if you take anything from this video, please let it be this, because this will change the longevity of your makeup game and how it wears. I want you to use your setting spray first and then a loose setting powder. I'm using this one. Y'all probably already know how I feel about this brand and this person, but it's a good setting spray. I'm just trying to get through it. Tap out any like little drops if there are any, but really let that shit dry first. Specifically for the under eyes, you're also going to want to make sure to tap out any creases that could have formed. You're going to take a powder puff. I find that this is the best tool to set your makeup, and I do like to start underneath my cheek, so right below where it ends, I just put a little bit of powder and I immediately wipe it away. I also like to do my nose to really highlight the center, and I pinch my puff as small as I can get, and I just go down in a little line like that, and again, immediately wipe it away. Without adding any excess powder, I'm going to go ahead and do my chin, my upper lip, and also my forehead. The under eyes is perhaps the most precarious area. I take my mirror and I look up. I start from the bottom, that way, again, just like with our concealer, we're not applying the most amount of powder to this really delicate area. Start right here, and I go right next to my nose contour also, just to really sharpen that as well. And then I'll really get underneath that eye. I'm going back with my gel eyeliner pencil, taking my mirror, holding it up, and I just put just the tiniest little bit of product literally in my inner corner, taking my angled brush from e.l.f. from before. And if it helps you, I would suggest to back blend, so going the opposite way of where you're supposed to go first, flipping your brush around, and then just flicking out just the tiniest bit. Then I take a nude pencil. This one is the Rimmel Scandaleyes in 005 Nude. And I'm just gonna fill in the rest of my waterline. And finally, to finish off the eyes, I'm going back in with my e.l.f. Lash and Roll. I always struggle with smudging, no matter what powder or concealer I'm using. So I have a little trick. I'm gonna take a spoolie. This is another dual-sided brush from e.l.f. I'm gonna look down, that way my lashes aren't touching any skin. And I'm gonna go underneath, because that would be the part that would be touching the under eye, if anything. And I'm gonna get any excess from underneath the lash. Septum ring coming back out. Again, who is she? I've been loving a matte blurry lip. Unprecedented times on this channel. I never thought I'd see the day that I would go for a matte lip. This is Moira Warm Toast, one of my favorites. And I basically fill in my whole lip. Easy breezy beautiful. I'm gonna do my setting powder trick. So if you don't know what this is, take a translucent loose setting powder and your powder puff, but just the tiniest bit of powder, again, like we're doing with the under eye, and you're literally just gonna powder over your lip liner. And then go over just one more time. You don't have to do the full thing. And finally, I take my Rem Beauty On Your Color lipstick in the shade Bubbly. I just take this flat brush. This one's from About Face. I don't know the exact name, but a flat brush. And I just paint that in the center. And here's a final little close-up of everything. If you loved this look and you want to see more, get ready with me's tutorials, makeup reviews, and other makeup teams, then like, comment, subscribe. I'm sending you guys so much love and light. And I will see you in the next one.